Hi all. I got scammed again. Um, be sure to also check out my secondary market video. Yeah, basically, I just want to go through how to prevent getting scammed. And it happens to the best of us. Someone who does business as much as I do in the secondary market, it happens. I've been scammed before. Lost about 170 or so bucks trying to buy a Kraken. Never got the item. Um, this one is a clone, according to everyone else on the internet. Uh, Devin Ross on Facebook, scammer. We'll talk about how to prevent getting scammed, signs, and let's get right into it. So first things first, make sure that when you are on the secondhand market, obviously if you're buying firsthand, you don't have to worry about it. Anything unless you use credit cards, you're probably fine. And even if it is bad, you can just cancel the charges. So one, make sure that there's a reference post. If it is on Instagram, there should be a hopefully pinned post on their page, and anyone that's ever done business with them can leave a comment, basically going through the transaction. Most of them are fast and sweet. The more comments someone has, the the more references they have, the more uh, likely they are to be legit. If someone does not have a lot of references, that does not necessarily mean that they are suspicious. It just means that they don't do a lot of business on the secondhand market, which is totally normal. So if someone has a post and they have like one or two comments, that's honestly still a good sign. Um, I have only encountered like one person who was like really against making a reference post. People who don't have reference posts or they're on Facebook or whatever, I don't know how Reddit works. I'm going to be honest. They will usually list people that they've done business with or screenshots. Do not let this be the end of things because that's partially how I got. Make sure you do your due diligence and reach out to people and ask about how their business with such and such individual went. Um, One time I did business with someone who was like, I don't know why they ended up being legit, but they were so reluctant to make a post where they had public comments, and all the people they listed, most of them were private. One person who like wasn't was like, maybe I did business with this person, and or they were like equally did not have any reputation that I felt like I could trust. It's like, oh, my friend Jimmy over here, who is also in cahoots, it turns out they were legit. So, shout outs to Eric Hassett, who I do not know why he was just so like, oh, but this is my professional page, even though that's what he used to interface with Balisongs. And so I had so many people reach out to me, have you done business with Eric? I'd be like, yes, he is legit. He's a good guy. He's trustworthy. He just refuses to make a fucking post. And now he has like a separate account, which I don't even know if he uses. Um, so yeah, make sure that when you see references, unless they're public and they have a lot of references, reach out and ask. If they have like one or two, it's still worth reaching out. This is just a way to make sure that you're not going to lose a lot of money or a knife. So another thing that you should be aware of is that if you are doing a money transaction, you there's a lot of things that you can do before you actually get into exchanging things to like kind of suss it out. One is if you are buying a knife secondhand, ask for a video. If they have pictures, that's nice, but a video is gold because you can just download a picture from anywhere. In fact, many people do. So if you're asking for video, you're like, oh, can I see a sound test? Can I see tolerances? If they're legit, they'll be like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like, tolerances are pretty good. Like, usually they'll talk over it, or at least they'll send you a video. If they send it, like, sometimes they're like, oh, I can get that when I'm home. If it's immediately, there's a pretty good chance that they're legitimate. If they are sending silent videos, big red flag. Because they're usually downloading that video and then muting it because there's some giveaway that it's not them. So that's important to ask for. In my case, I I got a knife. It's just a clone, which is a little harder. I don't use clones, and so I could not check it, especially since this one has uh, Squid Industries logo on it, which is kind of heinous, honestly. Also, fuck Balisong and Kotlin. That guy's just a scumbag. Um, so this is another way to see if if you're doing a trade, a very good thing to do to prevent just losing a knife is to have a middle person or middleman. Uh, I have often been a middleman in that people will be like, hey, me, Chao Wang, I am neutral and I am recognized in the community, and I do enough shipping and trading that I'm not like so busy not doing things. There's a lot of other people who have good reputation, but typically, let's say Alex and Bob are trying to trade knives. If the knives are not that expensive, if you lose out on a knife that does suck, you can do a middle person, but this is especially good for like grails, anything over a certain price point. If you ask for a middle person, a middleman will usually be a green flag. Let's say you're like, hey, um, Alex is like, I want your Orca, and I have a Zyzix. And Bob goes, wow, what a coincidence. I want that. Let's trade. And then they go, oh, but because these are Grails, do you mind if we do a middleman? And if Bob's legit, he'll probably see this as a green flag and be like, oh, sure. You're going to be losing out a little bit more money. Like, when I'm a middleman, I obviously need the money to ship. Otherwise, I'm just losing money. And so, like, it's $10.40 to ship. So I'll probably just ask both people for like $15. So while are losing just a little bit more money in the grand scheme of things compared to $1,000 knives, it's probably worth it. And so then so like, oh, let me ask Chell Wong. And then Bob will be like, oh yeah, I've seen her videos. And then if they both agree, they can reach out to me, and I go, yeah, sure. It's like I get a little bit of money and like a little bit of money, which is like $8 total to go to the post office and reship. But it's like whatever. Maybe I'll ask for a little more. But compared to $1,000 knives, $20 is like nothing, right? If it's a really inexpensive knife, you might not bother. You might bother. It depends. It's obviously insurance. It is protection, and so whether or not you find that is worth it, or you can find someone that's willing to do it, and I am almost always willing to do it, especially now that I'm like not going on any trips anytime soon. Yeah. The other thing is if you are buying a knife and you are not super sure if this person is legit, you can do uh, goods and services and a little bit more. So normally when you're buying things, when you're paying people, if you're able to use a credit card, then they're legit enough that you're fine. And if they're for whatever reason fraudulent, you just go to your credit card and say, nope, that was not real. That was bad. That was a scam. And they'll be like, okay. If it is like Venmo or Zelle or PayPal or Cash App, there is the ability to do friends and family, which means that you are just exchanging money for, to someone else. Because that's normal. Like, oh, you bought me lunch, I'll Venmo you $8, right? So if Alex is trying to buy Bob's Balisong, let's say he's trying to buy a slate for like $350. But maybe Bob doesn't have enough references. Maybe Bob just, there's not a lot of information on him. He doesn't have like a ton of like, green flag kind of things. So Alex might be like, hey, instead of sending $350 friends and family, which then Bob would receive $350, and if Bob is an asshole, he can just keep that money and not send a knife, and there's no recourse. There's nothing Alex can do. But if Alex does goods and services, then he can do, hey, normally if Alex sent $350 goods and services, it would come off of Bob's bottom line. So this, if this happens and we're like, hey, I got shortchanged because of this, and most people are going to be like, oh, shoot, my bad, if that happens. If Alex is like, hey, I'm going to do goods and services, but I will also, whatever they take off, I will pay extra, that might be worth it. So Bob might lose like $20, but then if Alex is willing to make it up, then Bob is still getting his whole 350, and that should not be an issue. Because for Bob, it's like, okay, well, if you're legit, hopefully Alex has all the things, then I am, then I'm able to still get all my money. And if Alex, is willing to pay the extra money for that, then he, it's like a little bit more money, but it's worth it if you think it's worth it. If Bob is unwilling to do that, that's a red flag, in my opinion. Typically, if they're willing, then it's fine. That said, there is the unfortunate ability to do the opposite, where Bob has, let's say Bob is trying to sell a knife, and then Alex is like, "Oh, once you send me the knife, I'll refund the money." That can happen. So again, a middleman is possible, but typically the buyer is putting on more risk than the seller. If that's the case, that can happen. Another thing you can do is also like, as the seller, you can do payment plans if it's an expensive enough knife, and that way it's like enough time has passed. Because a lot of times, like if I'm selling a Grail, and people be like, I do not have $1,000 lying around. I go, most people don't, but I'm willing to do a payment plan, and so that way, if you're willing to do like $100 a month or 150 or 200, as long as it comes in, I don't mind. I'm just gonna hold on to it until you pay me in full. But I do not put on any risk, because this incremental amount, um, I I'm never gonna like, you can't refund it after a certain amount of time. That said, though, also it is it's more money on top of things, so do be aware. But typically, if one person is in a position of good reputation and the other person doesn't, the goods and services tactic can work. It is, of course, again, a little bit more money for the buyer, but that's fine if you have reputation, or maybe you could ask someone that does have good reputation. There are other signs that someone might not be legitimate. This I find that this is more often the case on Facebook. There, I do believe, happens to be a cabal of scammers, and a lot of times it does seem to be that they are from. I do not want to be, offensive. A lot of them are from the Philippines. I got scammed by someone in the Philippines, and then basically like three other accounts who are also Filipino. One was the like the boss of like the shipment, and it was just the whole thing, and they were just trying to get more and more money. And it's in cahoots, or it's one person just making a bunch of spoofs. But either way, I was like, this is a lot of effort for like one person to juggle four accounts. I also I did not notice this until after Devin sent me this, but his profile had like a lot of Hindi on it, and also his name pronunciation was like Rodriguez for his last name. There were a lot of inconsistencies. I didn't catch all of these before, and unfortunately, that was after the fact. One thing I also will say that is, unfortunately, while it is too late, if someone becomes really aggressive afterwards, that's like a sign. I was like, hey, this isn't like new in box. There's a lot of like scuff, like it's hard to see in this video unless I like take the time to show you. But the middle area has a lot of like kind of corrosion, and there's a little bit of scuffing. And I was like, this is not like new in box. This is not opened once and then put back in the box. And I was just like, I wanted to just be like, listen, if you're gonna say like new in box, at least like this is in good condition, but it's not new in box. And then he got like super transphobic and racist, and I was like, okay, this guy's hiding something. And it turns out that while he did send me a knife, it's a clone. Most people will just send nothing. But part of how he got me was because he had references of people who received their packages. So just do be aware. Also know that if scamming can happen to anyone, if you think you are too smart to get scammed, you are not. This literally happens to whoever, and people who are scam experts have also still gotten scammed. I'm just a schmo who does a lot of buying and selling of knives, and I am selling knives. So if you're interested, let me know, because my Instagram post got taken down. But yeah, those are kind of the biggest tactics that you can do to avoid getting scammed. Um, Typically, just know that if someone's not willing to do a middle ground, if someone's not willing to send videos, if there are any red flags, it is better to walk than to try and get a good deal, because a lot of times if the deal is so good, uh, um, and they're being really reluctant, then it's a trap. Sometimes prices are really good because people will be like, car broke down, got to fix it, price to sell, and things like that. That that's fine. That's obviously like this guy is trying to move this. He's trying to get money quickly, and even if he loses money, but chances are, like, if someone is easy to cooperate with, easy to communicate with, willing to do whatever kind of things that you are asking for, it's a good sign. And once you've done enough trades, if you don't have a lot of money, you can also do temp trades. I'm always willing I'm always willing to temp trade. If you have anything that you want to offer me, I can temp trade, and I'm more than willing to give references if you are legit. Um, Typically, also, in my case, because I have good standing, there was someone who was selling me their bamboo, and it's like a $50 Balisong, and I said, hey, I don't see any references, and the guy's like, I don't have any, and I was like, do you mind if you ship it to me and then I pay you on receiving? And I showed him my references. I'm like, I'm good for the money, and he goes, yeah. I was like, oh, that was easy. Most people are really against that. And sometimes I do like, are you cool? Like half up front, half on the receiving. People tend to be pretty cool with that too. If you again, this the more references you have, the more people are willing to cooperate with like any sort of like hoops that you might have to jump through. But again, temp trades are good. Having good standing with people that you may know, it's always just helpful. So once you are able to build up more references, it is easier to do some of these or other things. And otherwise, yeah, people are typically pretty understanding. If like not everyone's got a ton of money to spend. I don't have a ton of money to spend. I'm just irresponsible. So, uh, yeah, be careful, be safe, do your due diligence, do your due diligence, and have fun flipping, and be safe out there. Again, watch my uh, buying and selling knives secondary video, which I'm too lazy to do the thing where I might be able to do that. Also, check out the coffee in my description. If you like this content, it can be helpful. If it saved you, let me know in the comments. If you want to donate a couple of bucks, because I just make these videos for free. And also, if you pity me for having gotten scammed by a clone, you can throw a couple bucks towards my way. And yeah, let me know in the comments. Have you ever gotten scammed? If so, how did you know? If you prevented a scam, also please comment. I will pin your comment. And if there are multiple good comments, I might do like an aggregate pin. But this is, I want to protect everyone. I want to help everyone make sure that we all do business. Unfortunately, there are some bad actors who try to take advantage of people, but for the most part, most people are just trying to have fun. And people get tired of things. People need money. People want to see new things. It's much cheaper than just buying new things all the time. So, yeah, it's a good place as long as you can avoid the bad actors. So, good luck out there. Have fun. Do not trust Devin Ross. You might see any of his weirdly transphobic, racist comments in the YouTube videos. They're pretty funny. Have a good one.